Thank you.
This is Randy. I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Siddiqui, second by Ms. Gabriel. Are there any questions or discussions regarding the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried for the approval of the minutes from last month. At this time, we open the floor for public comment. Are there any public comments online or in the room at this time?
Madam Chair, I do not see any online, and there is no one here in the room with us. It's only district staff.
Thank you, Dr. Sheffield. At this time, we'll move right along to updates from Chief Academic Officer.
Madam Chair, I'm going to make mine, of course, very brief because we are running slightly behind, and we have two updates, and we definitely want to collaborate with the committee members this evening, as I indicated earlier. But of course, what we're doing here within the district, alongside with textbook adoption, because the state did revamp. And in regards to some of the adoptions that are coming forth, right now we do have an ELA adoption that we must do, which caught us off guard, but the state has revamped some of their content area adoptions to where they push some behind and they move some further along. ELA is one of them, so we are actually in the beginning stages now where we are meeting Mr. Knoll. Is meeting alongside with committee members. We have, from the community and so forth and others that are looking at and providing, they're having conversation around the rubric and so forth as we're in the beginning stages around our ELA adoption, not just ELA, but also looking at reading intervention as well. That's the biggest piece of the bucket that we have going on now, alongside with all of the legislative pieces that, as they approve, we are constantly reviewing with our legal team and just making certain that we're updating and getting ready for school year 25. Of course, this is the time in which we are, getting ready for our class of 2024, where graduations will be starting sometime the second week of May. I think it kicks off on May 10th. Actually May 9th, with the Indian Ridge School that will kick off the season for the class of 2024. Then, of course, our students will start testing. We've actually had some students that participated in the FAST writing assessment, and within the next week or so, they will start with Progress Monitoring 3 for ELA, math, science, and so forth. So we're just continuing to work alongside with our schools. We still have teams that are outside of the district office that are working very closely with our teachers and with our students, just making certain that our students are, being prepared, and we're trying to make certain that we're setting them up for success. So that's just a lot around in the nutshell of what we're doing here from an academic standpoint. And I know Nolan is here with us, but as he indicated last month, it wouldn't be much of an update. Because this is a slower pace for us right now. What the team is doing is just that we're closing out school year 24, classroom libraries and so forth, and preparing in regards to for any new features that may be brought upon us. So, Madam Chair, I will let Nolan give his library media update. If he has any, then of course I do want to yield all of my time to Dr. Atwell around what we're doing here with artificial intelligence, and then, of course, Ms. MJ Steele and her team around the transition to kindergarten. That work is definitely gearing up, and, of course, our VPK enrollment for school year 25. And as I've indicated within the past few meetings, our summer programming, it is fast and furious. We're advertising. I've shared with you the programs in which we're offering this summer. So we're just continuing to work with our families. And lastly, before I turn it over, hopefully all of you have been following in regards to the Federal Student Financial Aid, FAFSA. They had a complete overhaul of the FAFSA form from a federal level. Normally, FAFSA is released for students to complete, start completing in October. This year, the form was not released until December. When the form was released from the federal government, there was a lot of glitches. There continued to be some challenges for our families as they're navigating their new platform, this new form. So Mr. Attorney and myself, we've been sitting on calls with from the federal standpoint weekly in regards to just the FAFSA crisis that we are in at a national level. So we are continuing here within the district to work alongside with our families and our students because we are concerned and we know that there are issues, we know that there are glitches and so forth. So whatever it is that we can do to try to help our families navigate through it, to where our students, those that are continuing on to post-secondary, and of course, this is all tied to scholarship dollars and so forth, we want to make certain that we have done everything that we possibly can in this trying time. But this is a national crisis that we're dealing with right now as it pertains to this new FAFSA rollout that occurred.
Thank you, Dr. Sheffield. I don't see any hands. At this time, are you going to pass the baton to Mr. Rowell?
Yes,
Rowell.
Nolan.
Good afternoon. So I don't really have any major updates. There may be a slight uptick in some of the orders because the SSYRA, the Sunshine State Young Readers Awards, were announced this year. So the list came out actually just today. So some of our librarians will probably be ordering those lists, so you may see a slight uptick. But besides that, everything should kind of be winding down for the year.
Thank you. At this time, I think we're moving right into our presentations, Dr. Sheffield, and you can call on the presenters in the order that you wish.
Okay, Madam Chair. Here you go, here.
And Dr. Sheffield or Dr. Atwell, at this time, just so we have a precedent before the hands go up, would you like to receive messages throughout your presentation or at the end of your presentation?
I think, let's see how it goes. Sometimes it helps if we hold it to the end because the questions sometimes tend to be answered within the presentations. So if we can hold it to the end, that's good. But if it's a burning question, then by all means, we're going to stop because we are here to collaborate around this work. But I definitely want to try to leave time for, MJ and her team. And I think she has quite a few slides there. When we start talking about VPK and, and those foundational skills and early literacy and making certain that we are getting our families in and so forth and preparing our students from the time they enter. There's a lot that go into that. So I know MJ and her team has a significant amount of information that they would like to share with us and, of course, open the floor for some collaboration. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Atwell, and we'll see how it goes, Madam Chair.
All right, good evening, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I've kept the presentation relatively brief in an effort to provide some opportunity for questions and see where the conversation takes us. But we've been on this journey around artificial intelligence for about 2 years now. So the team has been looking at the advancements that have been coming down and really getting excited about it, keeping up with it from different sources that we have, and starting to really dig into it and play with it over the last 2 years. Now, when we think about the artificial intelligence implementations, we've really been sticking and organizing it into 3 main areas, and those are students, staff, and then technical solutions. We won't talk too much about technical solutions, but we'll talk a lot about students and staff during this presentation. So jumping right in, one of the things that we've been doing is really focusing on, hey, how do we make sure that our students have an understanding of how to ethically use artificial intelligence? Because it is absolutely being used by them, but how do we make sure that they're using it in productive ways, in appropriate ways, and safe ways? So we have a district-wide training program for students that happens every year. It's signed off by the school principals that it takes place on each of our campuses. And we've incorporated a module on it that has artificial intelligence. It comes from Common Sense Media. It's a very good provider of content. It's the same training that they use to talk about online safety and passwords and so on and so forth, right? So we're focusing on age-appropriate lessons, making sure that they're using it in ways that's helpful. Excuse me. So another thing that we're doing with students is we don't want them to just learn about it, but we want to give them a positive use case to use it and actually play with it. They're going to be naturally inquisitive around this. So what we've done is we've gone out of our way to find a walled garden that they can play with AI inside of, a place that's protected, that's safe, where they can ask it questions, where the model isn't going to be learning on the things that they're saying in it, and where it can be an integration into the curriculum, and their teachers are aware of what they're doing on it. And so we've partnered with Khan Academy. Khan Academy is a very, very well-respected online learning platform that provides free education across the globe for free. And what they've done is they've worked with OpenAI's ChatGPT and have created an online tutor and teaching assistant. So for teachers, what that means is, for students is that's a chat bot that they can ask questions. Hey, how do I answer this algebra question? And maybe what's the answer to this algebra question? It won't tell them what the answer is to the algebra question. It'll Socratically walk them through step by step on how to do that problem. There's a couple different things. It'll give you assistance with essays, giving you feedback. You can debate a historical figure or a literary figure from one of your favorite books. Some pretty engaging opportunities and lessons. And it's all available through Khan Academy and the partnership that we have with them. Right now, we have 9 high schools that are piloting the program, but next academic year, it's going to be going to all high schools and all middle schools. Carrying on from there, the Choice and Career Options team, they've had some great computer science programs going for a while now, and 2 of the high schools have AI built into those programs. It makes sense they're starting to integrate some of that. And really, we're continuing to investigate other innovative uses of AI to assist learning. There are tons of applications. Really, this is like the inception of the internet again. It's affecting all sorts of things that we do. Even these images of students on the left were made by an AI logo creator that I utilized to get some graphics for this presentation. Here's a page. This is just talking about Khan Academy and the Khanmigo AI within it, right? On the right-hand side, you can actually see what the chat feature looks like. You go in, you click on the little chatbot icon in the corner, and you can engage with the chatbot, asking it all sorts of things. What's kind of cool is you can ask it a little tangential question. It's going to prompt you to get back to your work and go back in the right direction. Kids have pushed it, asked lots of different things. It'll flag the teachers and principals depending on what they say if there's an issue there. When it comes to staff, training has been a big key focus in this. We've kind of got 2 different groups of training. One is a general AI training, and we've been doing many of those, as you can see indicated on this slide. But the other piece is the Khanmigo and Khan Academy training, right? Those 9 pilot schools, we've been focusing heavily this spring on training them up how to utilize that in their classrooms, integrating it into the curriculum with our friends in teaching and learning, and providing ongoing support. And as we move into school year 25, again, that number of teachers is going to exponentially grow, and it's going to be over 6,000 teachers and administrators that will be training and giving access to this tool. Governance is a big deal when it comes to AI. We don't want all the different models being open in the district. So we've been working with the Technology Clearinghouse Committee to make sure that we're utilizing safe, approved by the legal team, and also the risk team to make sure that our data is protected. Tools. So some of the really great tools that we've gotten approved for utilization in the classroom by the teachers is Adobe Firefly. Adobe is the industry leader in graphic software, right? And they have a generative AI tool that is used for looking at images, creating new images. Canva, the second bullet, is a very interesting tool. It has lots of different ways of creating different graphics. It can actually create a custom presentation template for you based on what you're presenting and so on. Then we have the more generative pieces, the Google Gemini, that's the one that's made out of Google, and also Microsoft OpenAI, their ChatGPT. So those are the models that you probably have heard a little bit more of in the news. Remember, those are only open to teachers, and that's where you can actually go in, type your prompts, think about prompt engineering and how to get good responses out of it, and use it as a personal assistant there as well. But again, Khan Academy, big training and tool for teachers. They have access to it to help as a teaching assistant. So this is just a picture, a screenshot from Adobe Firefly that I talked about earlier, right? I went on there, thought, what might be interesting for us? Well, give me an image of an academic advisory committee in the style of pop art, right? So I don't know if I see any of us on there, but perhaps, right? That's what it happens to think that looks like, and I can give it feedback and change it up a little bit, but I'm an art history guy, so I don't know necessarily about the pop art, but the colors work. So it's a little bit of a back and forth to get what you want still. And then even in Canva, if I ask it for a presentation on an academic advisory committee, that's the template that it gave me. Kind of fits the bill. Now looking, this is a screenshot. Is there a question from the online group? No? Okay. Carrying on, Gemini, just drawing attention to one of the major models, right? On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see this is what it looks like when you go to gemini.google.com. Anybody has access to it. And you can type your prompt in there, and it doesn't cost anything right now for you to use it. It's using one of the older models. It's not their new model, but remember, this free version is way better than what the paid model was a year ago. It keeps getting improved, keeps getting better. Now on the left, I've written a definition for prompt engineering, and that's something to know when you're playing with this later. Prompt engineering is the art of designing questions or statements that guide AI models to produce specific desired responses, right? You have to be really clear. You have to treat AI like it doesn't know what you want, and you have to really spell it out for it, right? And sometimes this takes a little bit of a back and forth. When you don't like what you get, you say, hey, that's not quite it. I wanted this, you gave me this, and it'll be polite back to you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Here's what I think you might want now, and then you critique the next piece of it. It's a back and forth. So I typed in there, what should I cover in my AI presentation to the school district's academic advisory committee? There's a couple of those ideas represented in this presentation. So I think this is perhaps the last slide. Yeah, last slide. So just to do prompt comparisons, I wanted to show you what it looks like when you do a slightly more vague prompt and one that might be slightly more useful, a little bit more direct. So on the left, red means no, right? How do I teach algebra to an 8th grader? Keep response short. Plug that in. It gives me a good answer, right? Start with real world examples, so on and so forth, connect them with variables. Great, but it's kind of vague. It's not really teaching me how to do anything. I can't take that and teach something. But on the right, it's a little bit more useful because I actually took a learning standard and threw it in there. How do I teach an 8th grader to solve multi-step one variable equations and inequalities? Keep response short. If you work through that and take the time to do it, you see it does actually tell you how to teach that to a student in a much more meaningful way than the prompt on the left. And you can get more and more into detail with that. You could say, based on a student's interest, like this kid really loves Spider-Man or something like that. They can work that into the narrative on teaching them how to do that. It makes differentiation really great. And again, this is all available through these different models, but specifically for teachers in an even better way because it's packaged within Khan Migo for them. So that's all I've got for you guys, but I'm more than willing to answer any questions you have about different aspects of what we're doing across the school district with artificial intelligence.
Thank you for that presentation, Dr. Atwell. Laura Feldman, you're recognized.
Hi, I have a few different questions. The first one is in the list of AI chat sites that you mentioned, I noticed that you did not include the Bing chat. Is there any effort or thought process to include that? Because it does act slightly differently than what ChatGPT does and will give references, albeit references that need to get checked. And that would be good for both teachers and students to be familiar with.
Yeah, that's something we would absolutely be interested in looking into. Again, there's a lot of process that we need to go through before we open up a new model. It just so happens that we're not the district standard that we utilize with the students is the Google Suite, so that we wanted to make sure and work on the Google piece first, because there's a bunch of very helpful integrations that happen within Gemini. For example, if you write out a response, you can import that straight into your email or into Google Doc, or you can ask it to change what it is into a table and put it directly into Google Slides. So it has some really convenient workflows. That's in keeping teachers and students kind of in the same area is helpful for that. It's not to say that we're not going to continue to look at other options. We're just kind of working one at a time so that there's not so much change on our team, but we'll definitely continue looking, and there have been discussions about Bing, so we'll definitely look at that. But it is, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you're going to be looking at it. And I know this field changes quickly.
Exactly.
However, I think
Yep.
it's important for both our students and our teachers to try to stay on the forefront of that. And from the brief looks that I've had, as well as from people who work within the field, I've understood that Bing, some feel that Bing gives better answers at this point. And while I understand the convenience of being within that whole Google suite, you can copy and paste from Bing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And having those references and having those links can be very useful.
Certainly.
But they do need to be checked.
Absolutely. We agree.
So the second question, you had mentioned something about bringing, and I wasn't clear, are you bringing the career pathways programs to all middle and high schools, or was that you're bringing the pilot of using AI to all middle and high schools?
Yeah, good question. So what I was referring to is we have two schools that have computer science academies at them. And in them, they are integrating some artificial intelligence lessons. Those are the two career programs that I was referring to. But when I'm talking about bringing to all middle and high schools is specifically access to Khan Academy and Khan Migo. So the AI-assisted teaching assistant and tutor.
Okay, so as a follow-up to that,
Yes.
You're saying that there are only two academies focused on computer science in Palm Beach County?
I'm not sure about that. I know there are two that are integrating the AI piece to it. I would have to defer to my friends in Choice and Career Options. I know when I spoke with, we have a interdepartmental group that we talk about this, and our friend Moise from Career and Technical Education is on there. I can get a follow-up question with him to find out how many computer science programs there are and all of that. I do know we've been working with different programs like Code.org and done Hour of Code and those kinds of programs throughout the district for several years now. So they're still getting some of that for sure. But if you're looking for like the state of computer science program in the district, I'd have to defer to my friends in Career and Technical Ed, and happy to follow up with them if you'd prefer.
Okay, I would appreciate that. I do have a few more questions, sorry, but they are following up with regards to this, because I've noticed over the years that our schools are really, I feel, not sufficiently preparing our students for future careers within computer science, and that having a background, for example, in AP Computer Science A, is quite important for being able to have careers and become, for example, machine learning algorithm developers. And we have a very limited number of schools, of high schools in our district that are actually offering that course. And you can see that across the district in 2023, only 223 students took this exam. And that's not even doing the analysis of how many of those students failed the exam. And when you take a look, and I know computer science principles is offered more often, but you also find that in universities, there are some universities that are not even giving any credit to that course, to that AP exam, because it's not providing sufficient background in the material, that it does not even equate to one of their college courses. And that being said, for example, Forest Hill in 2023, 69% of their students failed the computer science principles course, which is really telling because we need our students to be able to have careers within this field. And if we can't help them get even that very basic first knowledge of it, while as fascinating and as interesting as what you're doing, we also need them to have this foundation. So what is going to be done in order to, one, further develop the foundations of computer science knowledge to be able to help them have these careers?
Laura, I think that might be something for which we've had, and we can ask to come back. And Dr. Atwell, you can certainly answer, but I think that might be a question that is for the choice, because computer science, if I'm not mistaken, is a choice program, and I just don't want to deviate from this session.
So
this particular.
This is a foundation. The reason why I bring it up is because this is a foundation for work within AI.
Correct.
And the computer science A, the AP, excuse me for a second, the AP Computer Science A course is not tied directly to a magnet or an academy program. It should be offered to every single student in our district. Anyone who can and wants to be able to take that course should be able to do so, but it is not offered across our district.
Correct.
But we do need this
Currently tied to
information.
right now, Laura, is
I'm sorry, I'm still
is
speaking.
it tied to the
Jermaine?
choice program?
I'm sorry,
Yes.
just 1 second. So
I'm asking you your
point is-
question because that will answer you. Is your computer science tied to the choice program, or is it an AI? Because you said it should be. I just want to understand so we can understand where your question need to be directed to. So is your question, you're saying that computer science is not available to all students? Is that because it is a choice program?
Well, we do have, Madam Chair, we do have some choice academies that have computer-based programs as a magnet. And we also have some schools that will offer some of the programming as standalone electives. Now, to say that we're going to say if they're, to say that we're going to find that elective at all high schools, no, you're not. And of course, with any elective course offering comes having the qualified teacher, the certified teacher to teach that elective. I'm not discrediting the conversation from Laura, but what I am, what I'm saying is that there are so many, it's great. And trust me, we will love it. But we also must have the staff that has the instructional pedagogy to provide that instruction for our students. And that's, and one thing that we're getting ready to look at is in regards to not just, computer science choice programs, but all of our choice programs in regards to it meeting the needs of all students and is serving the purpose that it is set out to serve. But definitely not discrediting. I hear what Laura is saying. I hear it loud and clear. But I do not want to negate the fact that in doing so, a big part of that is making certain that we have the staff with the instructional pedagogy and with the skill to do such.
Thank you,
But
Dr.
this is
Sheffield.
another conversation. I mean, I don't, because this will take us down, this will take us in another whole,
Right.
another
Where
whole
we would
light
also
here.
need choice that would be able to answer some of those questions. So I just want to make sure that when we're asking questions today, that we are germane to the presentation as the presenter has presented, because there are some other members of the committee that would like to ask questions. And I ask that you keep your questions to 2 questions, and then we'll circle back if there is time, because we still have another presentation. And I know that we may have questions surrounding that presentation. So if the committee members will please keep your comments down to 2 minutes, and questions to 2 questions down to 2 minutes, if that makes sense, or within 2 minutes, 2 questions within 2 minutes. At this time, I'll entertain Dr. Mendez.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm glad the district is doing something, and it's thinking about considering Can Amigo. However, I think we're a bit late here, because the students are using generative AI, specifically ChatGPT, since December 2022. This was launched in November 2022, and the students have been using it to to write their essays, to do homework, to do a lot of things. So I think we had to think about how to address this in different ways. One is prepare all teachers. This is not something that just the specific specialist teachers need to know, or the choice program teachers need to know. All teachers need to know about this, because their students are using it. The teachers need to have tools, and there are no, as an instructor, I can tell you there are no tools that really tell you clearly what was written using AI. But for example, Turnitin gives you a percent of probability that how something was created using AI. Is not always perfect. Once I posted one of papers that I wrote, and it said that it was created using AI. That was a lie, because I wrote it. But it's getting better. This is also an AI tool. But so we need to train all teachers on that. And all students need to know how to use this in an ethical way, but also how to create good prompts and how to use it correctly and effectively. This is not something that could be done just for a choice program. This could be like saying, okay, only students in computer programs need to know how to use the internet. It's the same thing. It's a tool that everybody uses, and we have to make sure, and here is my question: how is the district going to make sure that the educational debt, or what others call achievement gap, doesn't expand or gets enlarged because of the difference that some students, will have in terms of knowing more or having more skills on how to use this, versus those students who don't have these skills. So what is the district doing about
Dr.
that?
Mendez, I think, and it was in one of these slides, is that what we did this year, it was a soft rollout. Because of course, AI, and hopefully we did it the right way. That's something that we're dealing with now, and, with the new FAFSA form. They didn't do a soft rollout. They just, right? So what we have done here with utilizing Kamingo and, with the AI component and so forth, because we were already using Khan Academy, is that we did a soft rollout, and that those are the 9 schools that Dr. Atwell was making reference to. And what that allowed us to do, it allowed Dr. Atwell's team, the curriculum team, and other key folks to constantly meet and to look in regards to what was happening, because there were glitches that we found along the way. So we are continuing to work now, just like you heard him say that next year, this will be in all middle and high schools, now that we have done a soft rollout. So now we are planning the work that will be done, over the late spring, over the summer, to where Dr. Atwell and his team, the curriculum team, where we're looking at the content areas, and we're looking and being intentional around how it can be infused into the scope and sequence of the work. So we're, not rushing this. We're trying to be deliberate and intentional about this rollout and making certain, to your point, that all students are having access. So that's why we did the soft launch. Dr. Atwell, is there anything else you want to add to that? Because it was a soft launch with the 9, right?
Best practice, we try to pilot everything before we go whole hog. It's a big district, and there's a lot of different contexts in the district, so we try to pilot things before we go. Looking forward to, any disparities like that. It's going to be at all middle schools and all high schools, so they'll all have access to it, so looking forward to that in the fall. But one thing that you were referencing is the AI monitoring tools that tell you whether something was written with AI or not. As you alluded to, they're simply, it's a cat and mouse game, and they're consistently not reliable. They have false positives and false negatives. MIT has written about this so I wouldn't recommend that to the board or any of our teachers at this point, even though there are salespeople who really do believe in their product and their ability to do it. It's just, I would hate to penalize a student who really did work very hard on an essay because of a false positive. And it's still too inconsistent across those platforms.
Madam Chair, I think Siddiqui, had his hand up. Dr. Menendez,
Hi.
was there anything else,
Yes.
Dr. Menendez? I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'll make it quick. I know we're short on time. Dr. Atwell, just thank you for the presentation. I think it's really interesting. And it's great to see that the district is moving on this. I think AI ethics and governance is critical for the students. So I was glad to see that. I wanted to just direct the district and your efforts, maybe just look into there are some programs that are being put together by the folks at Common Sense. And if there's interest there, I'd be happy to make some sort of an introduction because I know some of those folks there. They do some really interesting work with school districts around artificial intelligence. But a question that I had, a really brief question, is around the last bullet point on the students. It says other innovative uses. I'm just curious to know, like, what's on the horizon in terms of what's next. I think we're covering the initial kind of level of education with these students well, and I'm curious to know kind of what's on the horizon in your mind of what more can be done here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. We're a big fan of Common Sense Media, utilizing them for our TechSafe program. So some of the new content on AI is actually what we're using to train our students on it. But talking that piece is a little bit of a placeholder in just saying we are we're looking at it with open eyes. We find a new tool and have to think, is this the next thing that we need to approve district-wide to give access to it? We're looking at new programs on a weekly basis. So things are coming constantly. But just to be, the real big thing is right now for us is looking at that Khan Academy and Khanmigo implementation next year. A program like this going to all middle schools and all high schools with the training load and the change. It's quite a big piece. So a large portion of our efforts are on supporting our teachers to make sure that it's a smooth transition and a helpful tool for them and going to impact our students in a positive way. So largely that's what we're focusing on. I know it's not really what you're asking for when you ask that question, but we're on Twitter, we're reading the news, we're looking at all these programs. People are coming to us constantly with new programs. We find out from schools innovative new programs, and we're looking and evaluating and thinking, does it fit a need that we have and as we evaluate different programs.
Great, thank you. Thanks for your efforts and your team.
My pleasure, thank you.
Madam Chair, I can't see if you have any other hands up. Is there anything else, Madam Chair?
I do not have any other hands up. Yes, I don't have any other hands up. Any other questions for Dr. Atwell?
Yeah, I heard the answer regarding how they're rolling it to the students, but how about professional development? Is it going, are you doing professional development with all the teachers this summer so they're ready for the fall?
Yes, around the Khan Academy and Khanmigo implementation, as you know, 6,000 teachers is a lot of teachers to train, but we have a training plan ready to go. It'll start in July, because July is when the changes, they update Khan Academy each year in July. So right before back to school, a couple weeks preceding that, and then that back to school week, we'll be offering large amounts of training, mainly in the live virtual, where we facilitate it kind of like this meeting. And we go through the program. That way we can do live questions. It'll be broken up into different groups, so it's in manageable chunks of teachers, so that everybody can have an opportunity for that a little bit more intimate, even though it's still a very big group, each of these trainings. So we'll be doing that. But we also have asynchronous trainings that are offered right now. They're on ELM, different options to learn about Khan Academy and Khanmigo. And then we're also doing just general artificial intelligence trainings continually. So we have an ongoing cycle of that as well. So yes, there are options if you want to get trained available for teachers and staff.
If they want, it's not mandatory. Is that what you're saying?
I defer to my leadership on what level of mandatory they place on it. That hasn't been completely communicated as of yet.
We're still working on the run of show. That's what he's saying, Dr. Mendez. We're still working on the run of show as we're moving into all middle and high schools.
Thank you. It's better.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Atwell, again. Excuse me. Thank you, Dr. Atwell, again. And at this time, you're more than welcome to stay on and stay with us for the remainder of our meeting, or please, at any time, you may leave the room. I think you're in the room. Yes. You may leave the room. Excuse me, guys. Oh, no. Oh, goodness. At this time, Dr. Sheffield, I think that we're ready for the
Yes.
next presentation. I believe the next presentation is on kindergarten.
Yes.
And I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It was me last month, and it's you this month. I hope you feel better, Madam Chair.
I know, I think you gave it to me.
Hope you
No,
feel
no.
better. I
Thank
do
you.
understand. So here, again, Dr. Atwell, thank you for sharing with us the work that we're doing around artificial intelligence. And again, as Dr. Atwell is leaving the room, as I indicated earlier, there are going to be opportunity gaps. We're not saying that we have this perfect. We are far from being perfect. So we did the soft rollout in terms of introducing it, working through all of those bugs and those challenges and so forth. And we're continuing to work together with both teams and streamlining to where we're ready to go come the fall with both middle and high school, and making certain that all students have an opportunity, to Dr. Mendez's point, in utilizing. So at this time, we're going to go ahead, because also we've asked around the work that is being done around our transition to kindergarten program, which it has all kicked off. Our schools, elementary schools, are all geared up, welcoming the families for the incoming kindergartners that will be coming in August, and of course, also talk around our VPK enrollment. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Steele and our director for early childhood and her team.
Good evening. My name is MJ Steele. I'm the Director for Early Childhood, and I'd like to introduce you to Stacy Quinones. She is a program planner in my department, and she has had the esteemed pleasure of being our first ever transition to kindergarten leader. So I'm going to turn this over and let her tell you a little bit about what's happening in transition to kindergarten.
Good evening. Thank you for the invitation. We're really excited to share what's going on with our Transition to Kindergarten initiative. And that's an adorable photo of our class of 2037. These are some district VPK students. Every year we have a theme and we welcome our new class. So why does transition to kindergarten actually matter? And I'm just going to focus on two things that we're focusing on, is that you see gains in academic achievement, and it's associated with increased family engagement, and that is really what we are working hard towards, getting our families engaged. I have to bring up one more, the reduced stress. As we transition kids to kindergarten and we provide information to their families, we reduce the stress of that transition, because it is one of the major life transitions for our families and their children. And this is our campaign logo for our Step into Kindergarten. And right now, we are in the middle of our kindergarten campaign timeline. It's a 3-week timeline. You might have seen some of our commercials, our billboards, in the children's magazines. We're in the malls. So we're advertising all of the information for the district to register our children into kindergarten. Then the week of April 1st through 5th, schools invited pre-K students to come and visit a kindergarten classroom. And this week, we are in the thick of things, because today was our kickoff for kindergarten roundup at all of our elementary schools. So one day this week, in elementary schools will be hosting their kindergarten roundup, inviting families to come in for the tour and information. And at that time, each family will receive a kindergarten readiness kit, and the children will receive an I Registered for Kindergarten sticker. So what are our resources for kindergarten transition? Of course, the kindergarten readiness kits, and each kit this year will have a QR code that will take families directly to a YouTube playlist of videos to help the families with implementation. Then principals have access to family resource folder with all types of flyers for parents, informational flyers, how to prepare their child for kindergarten. And this year, we videotaped an unboxing the kindergarten readiness kit video for principals to show at their roundups, so families can become familiar with the kindergarten readiness kits. And that's just some photos of our kits that the families will be receiving. And this is our video playlist. All of this is found on the district website at palmbeachschools.org/kindergarten. It's really one-stop shopping for family at that site. A new initiative this year for our Transition to Kindergarten program is our Principals Read program. And this is something we are doing in collaboration with the Early Learning Coalition. They purchased all the books for our principals to use and go read at a local VPK center that feeds into their elementary school. And this helps the principals start to build a relationship with the school and the director, meet the children, and talk a little bit about what it's like in a kindergarten classroom. Then we've had some pre-K parent engagement events. In the fall, we had our literacy event, and our schools hosted that have VPK, a literacy event for parents, and it was focused around asking open-ended questions. And our winter event, which was most exciting this year, we did a parent webinar. So we hosted 2 parent webinars where we shared all the information with our families about the transition to kindergarten, focusing on topics such as separation anxiety, academic readiness and social development, how to register their child, how to find their home school, and the importance of daily attendance. And we offered those webinars in 3 languages, and they are posted to the district website for families to access. Then a new initiative was our Unlock the Power of 15, and that was a wonderful collaborative event that we're doing. So we're working with the Early Learning Coalition, the Children's Services Council, the Palm Beach County Library System, and the Literacy Coalition. And we are working together to get the word out to read for at least 15 minutes every day. Research tells us that children who are read to for 15 minutes reach higher academic levels. So our ultimate goal is to cultivate a lifelong love of reading, and really this has just been getting the word out as much as we can with our families. And then our most exciting initiative is our Transition to Kindergarten ambassadors. We have hired 4 ambassadors, and each have been assigned to a region. And what they work around is engaging our families, supporting our families, collaborating with stakeholders, and they are helping to build that bridge of communication between principals and VPK directors to support and promote ready schools, ready children, and ready families. And right now, they are working with the Title I school principals and the directors, and they are hosting coffee chats and meetings to provide information and that communication. And their major responsibilities are community engagement, where we will go to VPK centers and work with the parents and present transition to kindergarten information, parent resources, that would be our parent resource folder, virtual coffee chats. We hosted our first in March. It was very well attended, and we gleaned a lot of good information to help drive our program for FY25, and then our parent workshops. And that's our transition to kindergarten work in a nutshell. I'm going to toss it back to MJ.
Thank you. I'm sorry, thank you. Our next topic that we want to talk about is VPK enrollment. And to give you some context, just for those of you who may not know about the voluntary pre-kindergarten program, the purpose is to prepare our children for success upon kindergarten entry, plain and simple. So with this program, parents have a great deal of choice, many kinds of things that they can do. So one of the big things that's new and different this year for parents is they have the opportunity to postpone their enrollment date for their children. The state decided that even though to be eligible for the VPK program, they have to live in the state of Florida, and they have to be 4 by September 1 of the year they're going to enter the VPK program. Now the state has decided that they can postpone their enrollment if they're a young 4 and they were born between February 2nd and September 1. So another choice that parents have when we're talking about the VPK program is an educational setting. So they can choose a school, public, private, or charter, a private provider. Most of the VPK program is offered by private providers, or they could choose a specialized provider that works with children with IEPs. Probably the most important and the biggest decision our parents make when they're deciding where to enroll or when to enroll is they can enroll for a school year VPK program or a summer VPK program. They may not enroll in both. So a school year program offers 540 free instructional hours. A summer VPK program offers 300 free instructional hours. Most all of our students or our parents enroll their children into a school year program. This is where the district really looks at what its priorities are. In our Title I schools, that's where the district prioritizes meeting the needs of students from low-income families and families that have other risk factors. There, we offer the VPK Head Start, VPK Title I, and VPK Migrant Pre-K programs to create programs that will offer more than the 3 VPK hours a day, so that we're able to provide 6 and 10-hour days for the students, where we expect to have higher academic gains. Also, in our programs where we have, they're not in Title I schools, we offer the free 3-hour VPK program, plus parents have the option to enroll in a parent enrichment program if they choose with a parent fee. Of course, one of the district's big priorities is inclusion, and whenever possible, students with disabilities participate in VPK classrooms alongside their peers. So this is just a picture of what I was talking about. The state program offers the 3 hours a day. The district, because of the priorities that we have, offers an enrichment program structure. So gives the opportunity for, and what my department does is we plan the budget, we look at the identified options for braiding revenue streams, which gives us different opportunities for enrollment. That money goes into school budgets, and we earn the revenues, and we start all over again. So this is what our enrollment guidelines look like. We produce these every year. We've been enrolling for FY25 since January in the programs where we're offering. That's when the state begins to offer or make the VPK certificates available to parents. This is what our FY25 school year VPK sites looks like, where you see the blue banners is where we have programs that offer, that are in Title I schools that offer the enrichment programs that are enhanced without a fee for parents. In the green box is where you see the schools that offer our programs that are outside of Title I schools, where we focus on making sure that we have the opportunity for parents to attend either VPK alone or VPK plus the enrichment hours. In these schools, we also accept the school readiness, meaning that subsidized childcare, so that we're able to also capture those children. A big priority here is that we are looking at trying to keep our children in their home schools. That's another priority for the district. So talking about summer. Summer for FY25 is coming up, but right now we're preparing for FY24 summer VPK. Districts are mandated to offer the summer VPK program. The district worked this year with the Early Learning Coalition. The coalition provided to us a list of unused VPK certificates by zip code. We overlaid that information on top of our school zones. And for this summer, we have 2 VPK sites, Barton Elementary and Wellington Elementary. All students in the whole county are eligible to enroll in the district's 2 programs or in any private provider program. What's of interest is that enrollment in summer VPK has declined so significantly. There was actually legislation this year proposed that would have taken away the mandate that school districts offer the summer VPK program. But what actually did pass is there is a proposal to create a VPK summer bridge program. This is still in rule development. We'll get more information about it, but this particular program looks at serving children who actually score very low on the START Early Literacy Assessment. Another provision that is of interest to us with summer VPK is that it allows school districts to meet the summer VPK requirement by contracting with private providers. So I'm going fast, so I know we're running out of time. So we provide all of the enrollment guidelines, work with the schools. Our enrollment happens at the school sites, again, because one of our high priorities is enrolling children in the schools where it will be their home schools. So why does the VPK program matter? I'll go right down to the bottom where we get our state reports. They consistently come out saying that kindergarten screenings show that children who complete VPK are more prepared for kindergarten than those who do not. And Dr. Sheffield, are there any questions?
Yes, I'm sure there'll be some questions, but I'm going to ask, and maybe Stacy did hit on it, now that today kicked off our registration for our incoming kindergartners, but what role is it that the 4 ambassadors that we have now hired to assist with that work, like what role are they playing there within the community?
They are working within the community to help inform the families, provide the information, especially now around Kindergarten Roundup, how to register their child. They take them through. A lot of our families don't know how to use the district website, so we've been providing trainings as that. And then they are at the school sites this week to help and assist during the Kindergarten Roundup presentations for all of the families. But really, our job right now has been to inform the parents, get the word out in the community, help them understand why it's important to register their child for kindergarten, why it's important to attend the kindergarten roundup to get the kindergarten readiness kits, and then encourage the families to continue to get the information that they need for their child's success.
Okay, and so those, the kindergarten readiness kits that we've invested in, they're picking them up as they go to register, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. And then, what work is it that we're doing with our private providers, as they too are working with the students that are eventually going to be coming into us? And I know that we've been strengthening that partnership. So how is that going?
That's going very well. We just started this work in January, and we had everyone on board by February with our ambassadors. And we've accomplished quite a bit. With our private providers, we are sharing our resources. We have developed many resources here in the district that we share with our principals. We are sharing those resources with the school directors as well so that they can share them with their families. And moving forward, we're going to be developing some PD for the directors because they're not understanding how everything functions here in the school district. So they are in need of information really from each of the different departments, such as multicultural, from ESE, even from choice programs. And we're going to be working very closely with the other departments to provide some PD to the directors. We previously haven't had a communication bridge. So the ambassadors are helping us build that communication bridge. So we're having conversations with private providers and principals, first getting to know each other and understanding our needs. Overall, we want to have a common understanding and expectation of what kindergarten readiness looks like here in Palm Beach County.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, I think you have a hand. I think it's Dr. Mendez.
Dr. Mendez, you're recognized.
Thank you. So you just mentioned that you need the support of multicultural, and I think we haven't had a director of multicultural for a while. My first question is, first, do you have someone to contact and to support you, even though we don't have a director? And my other question is regarding the first presentation. You show very nice programs, resources, different resources that parents can access online. I'd like to know if those are in different languages, because what I saw were only in English, and you probably just show the ones in English, but I wonder if we have them in Spanish and Creole as well.
Dr. Mendez, yes, of course, they are in the various languages. And then also, yes, with the absence of the director of multicultural, we have continued that curriculum collaboration with the managers that are there. Then, of course, Mr. Oswald, whom oversees multicultural, is also involved in this work and making certain that he stays abreast as the team continuously work with the managers within.
Good to know. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I can't see, I don't see any other hands up.
There are no other hands on my end.
Okay, yes, I just checked in the box and I don't see any other hands up.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Ms. Steele and Ms. Stacy, because I'm not going to butcher your last name. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for this valuable information and insight on VPK and transitioning to kindergarten. Are there any other questions for the presenters? Hearing none, Dr. Sheffield, I will, or is that was that someone talking, or is that in the room, Dr.
Yeah,
Sheffield?
that's in the room. I think that's the open mic that we have
Okay.
that's blinking.
I will turn the floor over to you at this time, Dr. Sheffield, if there is no other questions for.
No, I don't see any other questions. I do want to, thank Ms. Steele, Ms. Stacy Quanas, and I probably messed it up as well, and Beverly, just for the work that they are doing around our transition to kindergartners, because we've really, this past year, we've really have stopped and looked in regards to those foundational skills and looking at the root cause when we talk around, our literacy work. And of course, we know it does not, it starts, it's those foundational skills. And this definitely, we've leaned real heavy into this work. And, it's just great to have Ms. MJ and her team that are assisting us through this process. So I do want to thank them all. This is a busy time of the year for them. So, Madam Chair, that's, that is it for this part in regards to the collaboration of what we're doing here as a district and to, of course, get the feedback and just hear from the committee.
Thank you, Dr. Sheffield. At this time, Ms. Steele and all of the other visitors that's in the room, thank you. You may leave or you may join us for the next 15 minutes of our call or of our meeting. At this time, we'll move along on the agenda as we transition to the next area of the agenda, which is topics for, let's just make sure I had it correctly, upcoming agenda topics. And we did have this where we would have had a little bit more wiggle room, but because we are running a little behind, we are at a hard stop of 15 minutes. So I know that there was some homework that was given and individuals had the opportunity to share their respective topics. Dr. Sheffield, your hand is up and you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, as we go to talk about, this meeting here in May, May 13th, that second Monday, of course, we actually have, two, and I'm not more concerned with the graduation that's at 1 p.m., because that's outside, of course, of out of our meeting time. But I do have, we do have Take Stock in Children at the same time that this meeting is scheduled for, which Take Stock in Children, it does fall within the Department of Teaching and Learning. And these are the students we know that will receive, that have participated all 4 years of high school, and these students will receive their college scholarship. These are the students that are receiving college scholarships. So if we continue on and move forward with the meeting on May 13th, I will be looking for an alternate, someone to represent me, because I will not be able to make the meeting on May 13th, as I will like to attend the Take Stock in Children to support the Teaching and Learning Division as it falls within the Department of Academics.
And Dr. Sheffield, I too will not be, and that was part of my Q&A. I would not be able to attend that meeting either because I am a Take Stock for Children ambassador, so, and as well as a mentor. And I will be at that graduation. So unfortunately, I would not be able to attend next month's meeting either.
I will not attend either. I'll be on, I won't be in town, on the country actually.
Randy, Madam Chair, I don't know if you could see, but you have Randy. Okay, Ms. Menendez, Diane is making a note. Miss, I think that was Randy.
Yes, I had the hand, you're going by the hands that were raised. It's, I have Randy first. I had my hands up, but I'll let everyone else speak. It was Randy and then Laura Bellman. I think.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is about topics for the future for next year? Correct?
We have a couple of months left in this, or not a couple of months, I lied. I guess to kick off next month and the following month, if there's a meeting next month, but also to kick off, I think the only day that we don't have a meeting, and I'm sorry, I don't have my folder within reach. Dr. Sheffield, if you can help me out, I believe it's June or July.
June and July, we're off. We don't meet back until in August, and that meeting in August occurs once school starts. So we don't have that meeting, so it could go to the second or the third Monday, but we will meet in August. But it's once school start is the way the policy reads.
Yeah,
So we will meet in August.
yes.
And August tend to be the planning meeting where we do, we review the policy, review the role, and then select, chair, vice chair, and then, of course, at the will, we could discuss upcoming agenda items or what have you, but that's the will of the board, the will
I
of the
think-
committee.
I think the purpose of and that was the agenda topic. I just didn't realize how we're literally next month we'll be out of school, but time just have flown by. I think that it can be twofold. Miss Randy, Ms. Gabriel, it can be given those agenda topics so that we can go ahead and proceed, in, let's just say May, and also things that can be followed up over the summer as well. We may not meet in June, but there's still a school district over the summer.
My suggestion was going to be on the legislative outcomes from this session and the effects it will have on our district and the education of K through 12 students.
You said the legislative updates.
Yeah, the outcomes from this past session, which I know he hasn't signed all the bills as of yet, but and then and how it affects the education of students 5 through 12, kindergarten through 12th.
Thank you.
And just
Any
a
other-
side note, I'm just looking at my calendar, and I may not be here on the 13th either. I have a scheduled contract monitoring to do in Flagler County.
Thank you. Laura, you recognize?
Thank you. So twofold. First is I also.
Hold on, Laura. I don't know what's going on with the mic in the room, but it's cutting. There's a feedback that it's given when Laura talks. Dr. Sheffield. Try it again, Laura.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I also will not be able to be here on May 13th. My oldest is graduating from graduate school and my youngest is graduating from college that weekend, and I will be managing to come back from 2 different cities for those graduations. So I would like to put forward a motion to cancel the May meeting. Or if people prefer to reschedule it, but I know it's graduation season by that time, so that would be conflicting with quite a number of other schools as well. So I move to cancel the meeting, and then I have a second point after that.
Heard. Congratulations, by the way, to your child.
Thank you. Yeah, both of them.
Busy.
One with a master's and one with a bachelor's. It's going to be
Double congratulations.
really amazing.
That's awesome. At least you get to do both at the same time.
Well, thankfully, the 2 different universities schedule them on different days. So we are traveling in between. It's going to be fascinating to see if we can pull it off.
That's awesome. There's a motion on the floor to cancel May meeting, and seeing there's another comment from Mr. Siddiqui that he will not be in attendance. So there is a motion on the floor to cancel the May meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been second motion by Ms. Feldman, second by Mr. Siddiqui to cancel the May meeting. Is there any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to cancel the May meeting. Dr. Sheffield, if you can please communicate with staff and those at those appropriate channels of communication to post within the reasonable amount of time.
Yes, Diane will work with the board office tomorrow, because with us canceling, we have to, there is a process. So we'll work with Tony Lynn in the board office tomorrow to make sure it comes off of the calendar. We have enough time to do the public notice.
Yes.
And then she'll send the cancellation out. We'll do all of it tomorrow. Then we'll do the cancellation, and then she'll send the cancellation to the committee members.
Thank you. Laura, you had another question?
Yes, during our last meeting, there were a number of topics that were raised as possible meeting topics. And I'm just going to request that we carry those over to be, that were not addressed in today's meeting, that they're carried over to the list of topics for next year.
Okay. If someone, I think I had left early at that meeting last.
I believe so. So I believe they
Diane just shook her head and say that she has
Great,
them.
thank you.
Okay.
And it's in the notes, in the minutes, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes. Okay. I was gonna say.
And if we could, I can't remember if it was in that list or not, but if we could add information focusing on computer science classes and the efforts to find teachers with the expertise to teach those classes. To that list. And thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other agenda topics, future agenda topics? I did see them. My apologies. They were at the end of the meeting minutes.
Are you asking if we have more topics to propose to upcoming agendas, or?
I just want to make sure there is no additional topics. So we're going to take these and make a list of from today and from
Last month's meeting?
last month's meeting, yes. And we're going to comprise one list and send it back to the committee. And then when we return back in the fall, we'll have that list. But also at any time, if there is any questions that you may have, I think you can definitely send an email to staff regarding any of these topics. Dr. Sheffield, I do have a agenda item. It's been, this agenda item have been presented at the District Diversity and Equity Committee. And it was around SAT, ACT, CLT, more so classical learning, the classical learning test. I would like to know, and this could be an email, or it could, and it also I think should be a topic at the beginning of the year to prepare us for next year. And we had a presentation that shared to date the results of the CLT, ACT, and SAT. And I would like to have that presentation at the AAC. I can share that presentation with you from DDEC. And I think it was with Paul Hutchins, I believe his name is, or Dr.
Paul Hutchins.
Yes. But one of the areas that they did a deeper dive in was the CLT, and I would like to see a comparison and an up-to-date of how many students took the SAT, CLT, ACT, and how many students passed it, in addition to, or I guess the passing rates in the reading, the math, whatever components that were with the respective testing. But I would like to see that. I would like to see us do a deeper dive into the 3 tests and not just CLT. I think recently we had a presentation that also touched on CLT just a little bit, but I kind of want to see more.
Are you there?
And since we are looking at that data, it would be great if we could see it disaggregated by demographics, including students with low socioeconomic status.
So if we break it down in deep dive like that, I understand the need for it, but I just have a quick question. By us breaking it down that way, we never come up with a solution. All we do is see the data. So when they're making the presentation, are you asking them to come up with what the district is going to do about the low numbers in those areas?
Yes.
Because we always see the data, but we never see, well, not never, but there's rarely a solution.
Well,
So,
yes, that is, Sherelle, that is the point. Another point that I would like, I thought I was going to do it in May meeting, but I don't think we're going to have it in this meeting or May meeting, but was to go back, well, it's not go back, bring a practice that we do at DDEC 1 month. The goal is to just not have presentations every month. 1 month we will have a presentation, the next, and it would be the job of the committee members to go back to their respective committees and have a deep dive with staff the next month. And then if there is any recommendation at the end of that deeper dive, we would give that recommendation, whether it's to staff, whether it's to the board, because I feel like we have had presentations with no updates, with no recommendations, with no recommendations to staff, with minimal
right.
recommendations to the board,
Mhm.
or whatever. So I don't think that that's what this meeting is about, because we can give updates on the email. I
Right.
believe. I just feel like we have to get to the point where we are getting the information and then saying, okay, what are the steps that we're doing? And then quarterly or monthly or whatever it is, what is that update? Like, the media library topic. That was something that we met. We got that. And we're like, hey, we want this person monthly. Well, we don't really have an update monthly, but that person is here monthly to disclose any discussions regarding the library books.
Right. So,
Um,
I mean, at this point, that's what I'm saying. We need solutionary, not only with presentations, we need something that's going to give a solution or a suggestion. Because every month we get these presentations, but we're not getting a solution. We're not, I mean, not every month, not all the time, but most times we ask for this. So, I mean, can we put that on the table, that not only do we get that, but we should have recommendations along with it, or what the district is doing to make it better?
mhm. Absolutely. And the goal is to have these presentations laid out so that we too can do our homework beforehand and come prepared. The challenge is sometimes with staff, sometimes they may not be available, or,
Right,
for the
right.
presentation. So you don't have that immediate,
Right.
you don't have the homework. You can't do the homework in advance,
Right.
unless it's a week in advance. And most
Mhm.
board meetings take place, like our board meetings take place the first week of the month. So,
All right.
yeah,
Thanks.
no problem. Are there any seeing that it is 7:17 and we are past our agenda time, are there any other questions for this body, for the good of this meeting or the body? Dr. Sheffield, do you have anything?
No, Madam Chair, I'm all good. I think we're good. We'll proceed with canceling May's meeting, and then we will, of course, meet back. I don't think there will be any changes for, the upcoming school year in terms of committee members, but if not, then we will see everyone back in August.
Yes. Have a great day, everyone, or a great evening. The day is gone. Have a great evening, everyone. And at this time, the meeting is adjourned at 7:18.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. 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 Hurry up and cancel.